Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's Ed. I'm one of the facilitators this afternoon. Cassie, do you want to give people a wave?
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name's Cassie.
Yeah, great to see so many of you here for this afternoon's session. Before we kick off the session, we kind of wanted to check in with you guys because we're kind of at the business end of this Mayor's Entrepreneur Program process. So we'd love to hear from you in the chat if you're applying and whether you started that application process. So you can just drop a note in the chat. Yes, I'm applying. I've already started, or planning to apply, not yet started, just to get a sense of where you guys, what stage you're at. Joseph is ahead of the game. Already
Nice.
applied. Crystal's planning to, that's great.
Nice. Mhm.
One of the reasons we asked this is, as is often the case in like student and studying environments, I've totally been there myself. Like we wait till the last minute to apply, but we really encourage you to pull out the application form, make a note of all of the different questions, let's say in a Word document or a Google document, and just start drafting those questions. Okay, loads of comments coming through. Deborah, Sushan, Mia, Margarita. This is excellent. Then the next question we have for you all, which is kind of to prime this afternoon session, is how would you describe what makes your idea different? And here, we're looking for adjectives like cheaper, faster, higher value, more expert, cutting edge technologies, expert team, novel technology or science or research. I'm noticing people are being maybe a little bit shy about sharing their differentiators, but Roble, domain expertise and novel algorithms, really, really nice. So that is a mixture of like, let's say the skills and expertise within the team, big differentiator, and then something about the technology. So a novel algorithm that's supporting the product. I would say the next step there is to think actually what is the outcome of that. So, those are, let's say, like the inputs, what you feed into your business, the outcome, what value does that create for your users? And that's the really key thing. Jesse, bringing emerging tech to under-innovated areas of consumer materials, amazing. Human health and environmental tech times beauty. Very interesting. I'd love to hear more. And Joseph, reimagining our relationship with waste and easily replaceable products, specifically computer accessories. That is a pretty vital space, given the environmental and social cost of raw materials on computing and electronics. Brilliant. So yeah, I'd love to hand over to Cassie, and you can share a little bit about your experience.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I actually won the award a few years ago. I can't quite remember, 2 years ago, 2021. So I have a lot of experience with the application process, but it was actually on my third application that I was successful in winning. Each time I got a little bit further in the competition and of course learned a lot. But I find that if I had the first time round really utilized as much of the templates and the support, I think it would have helped me get there a little bit quicker. One thing with the workshop that's today, the value proposition, it's completely central to the whole application. Those of you who were in the last workshop where you're working on customers, this is the sort of big connection to the value proposition, understand your customers and really trying to understand what makes you unique. For me, I thought, so I make sustainable materials for fashion, and I thought that was kind of enough, that was sort of unique enough, when really I started to understand that I had to strengthen and sort of make myself stand out a lot more. And so now the focus is on how we're design led in these novel sustainable materials that are made from waste streams. And it also helps whenever you're talking about your idea, when you do your value proposition, it means that any of those questions that you might get hit back with, you know them off the top of your head because you've went through in detail what makes you unique and what your USP is. So yeah, I would say anyone who's kind of hesitant to apply, I say just go for it. As long as you follow, you know, as much of the templates and the guides as you can, and also try not to be something else. I think I tended to do that at the start. I looked at who my competitors were or who was a bit more successful than me and thought I needed to be like them, when really your business idea is unique, but you got to focus on that and kind of understand what makes your product or your service unique to you instead of trying to be like someone else. So I would say definitely apply for it anyway. You still have time, but you know, definitely need to get to it now. But yeah, I'd say try and learn from my mistakes instead of leaving it this year for next year. Just try and get it done this year and see how far you get.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Cassie. And yeah, you know, we're really happy to have Cassie with us today because she is literally a previous winner. So a great person to learn from. And I think what you just spoke to and commented on is exactly the point here, that, you know, the application process starts now, and thinking about what makes you stand out is what today's session is all about. We're also conscious that, you know, building a new idea, starting a potential new venture can be quite an isolating process. And it's always good to get feedback. So we've actually set aside time to give you mentorship and advice on your idea, on your application. I've just shared the booking link in the chat. So you should see a whole range of different dates where you can check in and get time with me. I mean, I've been co-delivering this program for like 7 years now, so hopefully we'll have plenty of experience and advice on your business ideas, and have mentored many startups over the years. So please feel free to take that opportunity. So just before we carry on, so Margarita has said, engaging learning experience of students connecting cultural surroundings of London. That's fantastic. And then Deborah, creating new and meaningful work, providing a platform to empower creative entrepreneurs to explore creativity by associating the previously unassociated. Sounds really intriguing. I think with both of you thinking, like, how do you clarify the value into specific things like increased income for the people, reduced costs, increased quality, increased health, increased social impact? What are the outcomes? I'm hearing kind of like the inputs, but what are the outcomes that are valuable to your users and your paying customers? Which leads us onto the start of this session. So I'm going to share my screen here. Do let me know if you can't see my screen. I'm hoping you all can. I'm assuming by your silence that you can. So today it's all about value propositions. And value propositions are basically a framework for being able to articulate what you do, for whom, and in particular, the value that that work returns to your users. So the analogy we often use is that people don't buy your snazzy drill piece of hardware, they buy the hole that the drill creates. They don't buy the inputs, they buy the outcomes, right? And that input, like the solution, can change and adapt, but really you're trying to solve someone's need, okay? So today we're going to look at value propositions, you're actually going to begin drafting your value propositions. And then if time, we're going to have a look at how this kind of becomes the cornerstone of your broader business model. The next thing we wanted to raise is this program is partly about these workshops that Cassie and I and others are running for you, but we've actually turned this into an online course. You've all got busy schedules. So this course, you can learn all of this stuff online. So feel free to take that opportunity. And I'm actually just gonna make sure Cassie is co-host as well. Cassie, have I made you co-host?
Not on my end, it's not saying that. I think the last time, I think they got rid of that feature.
Oh,
So
okay.
there can only be one host, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, so if you'd like to continue learning online, you can scan this QR code, and we've built this whole online community for you to be part of. So we started by inviting you to describe your idea and the value that it creates in the chat. But really, we wanted to really focus on the fact that so many innovations are not closely tied enough to their customer need. And this is central. You have to solve a specific problem in a way that you can evidence the impact. And actually, if you think about household brands, most of them, their brand and their value proposition is so clear that you can almost associate a particular brand with often like a few words or even one particular word. So we're going to test out that theory by asking you guys to write one word in the chat that you would associate with. Oh, sorry, I've jumped ahead. With the brand Volvo. Safety.
I just see that there's someone asking if we're going to share the slides at the end. I don't know if
Yes, these slides will be shared. And all of them get hosted on the online course as well. So yes, to Joseph, eagle-eyed, the one word that Volvo is associated with is safety. So often you find the drivers of a Volvo might be like young parents and they care about their kids' safety. And Volvo is like the market leader for safe cars. Okay, what have we got coming up next? The next one, DuckDuckGo. For anyone who is not purely like a Google user. So DuckDuckGo is like a search engine. Alash and Sushan, props to you. It is all another all about privacy. So DuckDuckGo specifically says that unlike Google, they do not track like a data imprint of your search history, so you can remain as anonymous as possible online. Okay, next one, Slack, a tool that I use way too much in my life. Any thoughts? Teamwork and efficiency, Rohan. Timekeeping, Mia Wang. Exactly. Productivity. Slack is a tool to increase productivity of different teams. Awesome. So those are just a few examples of brands that many of you will know, and just how clearly they've been able to articulate the value of their brand. And then the next one is one of the, I think, most compelling, powerful brands in the world, which is Apple. And many of you will know that even though Apple was founded or co-founded by Steve Jobs, he actually got ousted from his own company during the 80s. And in that time, Apple kind of went through the doldrums because they lost a real sense of their brand identity. And they put out ads like this. I'd be interested to hear in the comments how you respond to this Apple advert compared to some of the ads for like an iPhone that you see on the tube every day these days. What do you think? Dated, overpriced, innovation, less bold. So I wanted to share this because I think this is one of the most horrible adverts that's so overwhelming. Yeah, Laura says it's kind of like IBM, loads of text. Like there's nothing here that makes me want to engage with this product. And what Steve Jobs was amazing at doing actually was creating like brand and product visions. And when you think about computing and computing style products, you know, a lot of people think in a different way to Steve Jobs, like, oh, we have the fastest internal RAM or processors, whatever. Steve Jobs synthesized his value into something much more emotive, which is the people who use Apple are somehow, that is somehow synonymous with independence, with creativity, with like being visionary. So when he came back into Apple, he ran one of the most successful branding campaigns in history, which was this one, Think Different. And here you'll see Pablo Picasso, Joan Baez, who's an amazing 1960s folk singer, Gandhi, Einstein. None of these people actually have anything to do with computing. You know, Einstein's a scientist, but he's a physicist. But here, this is creating like a vision of a feeling, an emotion about if you engage with Apple products, you're different, you're innovative, you're creative. So I wanted to share this because we just, you know, think this is such a compelling way to create a like brand experience. So what is a value proposition? The first thing is that a value proposition is actually like the cornerstone of your application, as Cassie mentioned earlier. If you guys listen carefully and get this right this afternoon, you'll be in a really strong position for your application to the Mayors Entrepreneur Awards. But what it is at a more fundamental level is that it outlines who you target, their pains and the potential gains, so the outcomes of engaging with your product or service, and the reasons they should buy from it. It offers relevancy, so how it solves a customer's problem, quantifiable value, so specific benefits, and differentiation. So, you know, when you pitch in front of investors, or when someone lands on your website, or when someone reads your Mayors Entrepreneur application, they will think, okay, I get this, I understand it, and I can see why this is new and it's different to what already exists. So to make this really clear and to think about what makes a really great value proposition, we've put together a framework for you to use, which looks like this. So it begins with we serve. So who are the target users and customers that you're looking to work with and support? And then what are their needs? So these users face the need or challenge of. Next, you describe your solution. Then you share evidence that will support why they will love you. So cost related, impact related, rational or emotional impacts. So we help save you time or money, or increase revenue for your business or profitability, or save carbon emissions. etc. Help you to make more strategic decisions better. And then lastly, they trust us because of, and then what are your differentiations or competitive advantages? So on the last case, you know, what makes you special? Some of you in the chat shared things like, you know, you have an expert team. Wow, that's a great differentiator. You guys are experts. Or you have a proprietary piece of technology, IP, algorithm that lets you deliver things to higher speed, quality, lower cost. What is it that makes you special? Mia says, does the value proposition apply to B2B products and as well as direct to consumer? Absolutely. The reason we have split this up into beneficiaries and paying customers is that in some cases, this is the same person. If I'm selling a piece of software to a business, or I'm making like a fashion brand that I'm selling on the high street, the people who benefit are the same people who pay. But in many cases, and especially in like the social impact world, these are two different groups of people. So for example, if I'm creating like an app to help triage better at accident and emergency, the beneficiaries could be, you know, management teams at a NHS hospital, but also the people who are going to A&E and having long wait times at the moment. And the benefit could be, you know, we reduce wait times by 30%. But the paying customer could be an NHS trust or whoever else. So there's often that distinction. And again, in the environmental space, let's say you are looking to reduce pollution levels to reduce health impacts on commuters and cyclists into London. The paying customer might be a business, it might be a local council, it might be the mayor's office, who knows? Or it could be the cyclists themselves, but often those groups might be two different people. So to bring this to life, I wanted to share the example of an incredible health technology business called See the Signs. And they are a team of doctors and technologists who recognized a very important challenge. So late diagnosis of cancer radically increases the likelihood of mortality. So they serve a specific group, which is GPs, not cancer patients or oncologists, GPs, who struggle to catch the early stage signs of cancer, which increases mortality risk. Their intuitive AI-powered app gives GPs the expert tools to predict cancer diagnoses and give referral guidelines to give them actionable steps to support the patient. They know what to do. Once they've picked up the signs, they know what to do. And that helps them save time, money, and potentially hundreds of thousands of lives by catching the early signs of cancer 30% earlier than existing solutions. So I'm going to pause there. Really interested to hear your thoughts on this value proposition. You know, why is it good? What you liked? Are there any ways that you might improve it? How you might borrow some of these techniques to include into your own idea? What do you guys think?
I think as well, if anyone wants to speak the answer instead of in the chat, it's always easier.
I think it's quite good that they targeted GPs as their customers, and that's right at the beginning of the sort of healthcare journey, not necessarily, say, oncologists who might mainly deal with the patients who are struggling with cancer, but might be further down the line in the patient's healthcare journey. So they're trying to tackle this problem as early as possible, which is very good.
Totally agree, Rohan. Yeah. And as Laura says, simple, to the point, easy to understand. Actually, people say, I need 3 minutes or 5 minutes to pitch my idea. If I was one of the founders of See the Science, I can read this off like in 20 seconds. And I hope you guys agree, most people in the room will get it, right? They'll understand why this is so amazing. Any other thoughts or feedback? At this point, it'd also be really interesting, Cassie, to hear your take on this, like for your own business, how you'd approach articulating it using a similar framework.
Yeah, I mean, this is like super important, especially with my materials, obviously they've got a benefit to the environment, but trying to make that succinct for my customers. So I work more on a B2B basis, and trying to help break down that understanding of what the benefit is of my materials are sustainable versus lots of other startups that you're seeing. So for me, it's been super important. And actually, since I applied and I won, the sort of my value proposition has really shifted and changed. And I think that really came down to the shift from being B2C to B2B. That was something that I kind of discovered would actually be more beneficial for me financially, for revenue streams. So I think that, using these kinds of templates also helps you to really be able to understand who your customer is and how to speak directly to them. So what are the facts and figures that, what they're looking for in a product and what helps solve the problems that they have. And that really came about from speaking to people directly. But yeah, the value proposition, it's something that's always being worked on. It's never final, because there's always things that grow as the product develops as well.
Totally. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give you a moment, just kind of working independently, to actually draft out what your value proposition might look like. And it might be that those two groups, so paying customer and end beneficiary, are the same, or they might be different. But we're going to give you a few minutes just to draft that out, and then put you into breakout rooms. So actually you can kind of like harness all the skills and ideas within this broader group to get some feedback. Okay, so I'm going to put that framework back up on the screen. Before I do, are there any questions from the group? Is there anything that's unclear or anything, you'd like us to go into more information about? Okay, I'll take that as a no. So we are going to give you, let's say, 5 minutes, and we'll check in kind of halfway through to see if you need more or less time. So 5 minutes working independently to draft out the first version of your value proposition. Over to you.
Hi, sorry. Oh God, how long have you got for this exercise?
So 5 minutes total. You got 4 minutes left now, but I'll check in case you guys.
Okay, cool. No, because I'm literally running to my cab. So
Oh, no worries.
yeah, thank you.
if it's useful, you can always take a screenshot of this slide. Got about 2 minutes left of the original 5. And 1 minute left.
Oh, I think someone wants to see the last question on that screen. I think I can copy and paste it.
Cheers, Cassim. Let's just take one last minute on this. We had a question in the chat. Can we apply for this competition if we've already applied for other competitions? 100%. That's fine. And Jesse says, what's the best way to share what we wrote? So for some reason, I'm struggling to get the breakout rooms set up. But there's two ways. First of all, I think now is just a great opportunity to get feedback on this. So there's two ways that you can do it. You can copy paste it into the chat, but I'd really encourage you to unmute and actually share this with the whole group. So volunteers, who would like to share their value proposition for me and Cassie and the rest of this group to feedback on? Laura. Laura, would you like to unmute and share one that you wrote in the chat? Go for it. No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, great.
There you go. Sorry, it's USB headsets and stuff. Cool. So I have pasted it in, but I'll just read it out for those who've probably passed over it. So the value proposition is the STEM project is a consultative service provider. We support industry in creating engaging, industry-aligned teaching curriculum that can support any educator as they inspire the next education into STEAM careers in the UK. We support industry as they look to overcome barriers to innovate their talent pool. We introduce advancements from their sectors to those in education and subsequently the classroom to help bridge the gap between education and industry in the UK. Our solution is one that encompasses many layers, from workshop design, classroom content design, along with impact and evaluation of projects and programs. We've successfully supported various industries into STEM to help engage with students through career workshops, content design and workshop deployment to bring industry to life. Our freelance team of skilled professionals span from teachers, workshop designers, impact evaluation experts, event managers, and those from industry with long saged advice, which help clients make the most of their investment and their ultimate return. Clients I haven't listed on there, but ones I have worked with include the 1851 Trust, Engineering UK. We've done work with the heritage sector, such as Leeds Museum and Galleries, along with STEM Learning and a few other smaller schools and career days as well.
Love it. Congrats. Really, really good. Also brilliant, you know, to step in, be the first volunteer. I have actually spent quite a lot of the last 4 or 5 years in my career in STEM education. So if you book in for some mentorship time, very happy to share like more kind of targeted feedback on that. Something I really care about.
Yeah, it's one of those sectors. I think everyone's got something different to offer here, in our various businesses. But I've been doing it for probably officially 18 months as the STEM project business, but have found I suppose some of the biggest barriers that we found as a startup and as a business in that respect is being taken seriously. I think a lot of people on this call would probably know where I'm coming from, where you're pitching yourself against others who are a little bit more older in business sense, but we know that we are more skilled or knowledgeable, and it's trying to help overcome those barriers. So yeah, all the pitch proposals and everything else, it seems to somehow fall onto deaf ears, and it becomes a hard slog at times. So yeah.
Interesting to hear that. So I'm going to share some very quick, immediate feedback, and really interested, not just with Cassie's feedback, but the wider group. So first of all, basically, you want to be as clear as possible, as if you're pitching to like a grandparent. And if you start by saying you're a consultative service provider, you've kind of lost me already. So I want you to be really specific. The STEM project designs cutting edge curriculum to help support industry to find the STEM talent they need to succeed. Something like that. Like consultative service providers, it's a little bit nebulous. So I'll just immediately describe what you do. So that was the first thing. The second is, I think there's opportunities you kind of mentioned to say, actually, we are at the cutting edge. So we know what industry needs, and we're incorporating, for example, like the latest technologies into our curriculum to help employers stay ahead. So really thinking about what it is that you do really well that other people are not yet doing. So for example, when I worked in STEM education, the business that I worked with, they were the only ones like teaching kids machine learning, robotics, and AI, and had built like really expert curriculum in that. So those are a couple of ways that you can build on this, and then also like quantifying your impact. So for an employer, when looking at talent, employers want like higher volume of quality people, better retention of quality people, and better progression of quality people, basically, so that their business innovates better, scales quicker, makes more money, and saves money. So like framing that in the terms of your employers, or your partners, would help. So I hope that makes sense. Across the group, any thoughts? Or
I just had one thing about maybe putting in a stat or a fact and figure about what it is the impact you have or the impact that you're trying to have. And something that really sort of stands out. For example, when I'm speaking about what I do, I say that a designer's impact is 80% in the raw materials, so that there's it brings you to size the impact that you can have. And I'm sure with STEM and STEAM, there's plenty of figures that you can maybe bring in.
yeah, 100%. Back that up. Across the wider group.
May I add some comments?
Yeah, of course.
That's the most challenge in this project, that how implement during the lesson. I'm from Ukraine and I'm principal at school who implements STEAM approach in our school, and that's the question was from our parents. What benefits for students and how we may involve in the other business structure. And we create the curriculum for whole line school from the elementary to elder students, and that was successful, but that works our team step by step, how to implement what at the beginning, what will be next, etc.
Yeah, agreed. So contextualizing it into the impact on the students, for sure.
Yeah.
Skills, exam results.
Thank you.
Super. Okay, we're going to move on. Thanks so much, Laura. I can see Abby has written an intro to Green Rubber Tech in the chat. Abby, would you like to unmute and share your value proposition?
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, actually, my value proposition is to like provide cheap rubber flooring, the recycled rubber flooring to the customers, to the gym owners or the building owners who want a safe rubber flooring.
Okay. Do you want to go back to the framework that we were using and kind of structure your value proposition?
Yeah, okay. So for the we serve my target customers are basically the gym owners who mandatory require the rubber flooring solutions for the heavy weights.
Hello.
For the second one, who need or the face the challenge of the needs, like I'm solving three problems here basically. So I'm providing the rubber flooring solutions, the safe solutions. And the second problem I'm solving is the rubber waste or rubber pollution, which is in the UK. And third, my third solution is the sustainable products, demand for the sustainable products in future. And in third one, my solution. So basically, my solution is to recycle this rubber waste into something useful. Like my vision is waste to value.
Your say that again. Your vision is
Waste to value.
waste value.
Waste to value. Yeah, waste to value. Like producing something uh, from waste which can be useful and which can like do some business. So basically, it's waste to value.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sense.
And the lovers because like it's just an idea. I've started this startup in India. Uh,
So
the main reason the lovers is because like in India I've started this. The main reason is that I provide cheaper solutions like for the rubber tiles, uh, which is recycled, the recycled rubber,
Mhm.
which I convert into rubber tiles. So they are cheaper, durable, and more safe.
So, okay, this is great. And I think you got to the key point right at the end there, which
Yeah.
is, and I'm going to say something controversial, but it's something I believe.
Cheaper, durable, and safe.
Yeah. So when buying a new product,
Yeah.
a customer will, the first thing that will influence their behavior, unfortunately, right now,
Yeah.
it's not going to be whether or not they're recycled. It's going to be price.
Right. Exactly.
Very difficult reality, but
Okay.
if you say, okay, one tile costs £100 per like
Per square feet.
versus another which
Something
costs
like that.
130, it will be very
Yeah.
hard to convince okay, 130. I'm just going to put you on mute if that's okay, Abhi. But if you can say, as you have, that you're also cheaper, suddenly you're going to really capture people's attention. So it's that joint thing of sustainability and price. The second piece of feedback that I would really encourage you to think about is who your target customer is. You mentioned gyms, housing providers. Like, I don't know if you've yet done this, but as Cassie said earlier, go and speak to potential customers. Ask them what they spend per year on flooring, at what times, what their budget cycles are, what would make them change decision, what the like material properties of that flooring need to be for their brand, for regulatory concerns, and think, okay, here are our target customers. And that will just make your value proposition even more compelling. Equally, if you have any intellectual property or research and development that has gone into this, which I am assuming you do, really talk about that, because something that makes your idea defensible is you can say, actually, I've spent time developing this in the lab, and I have some intellectual property that takes people time and money to replicate. So that is a huge competitive advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you so much. Also, one more thing, like I have visited the gyms in UK. So, like what they are doing is they are importing the rubber flooring from Scotland or countries like that. And like when I compared the price, so the price is also very high.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I found one more thing, like if I have visited the garages also where there are waste tires, right? Like I can get my raw material uh, at a like very cheap price or maybe free also. So that is the advantage for me. Like the raw material which you need to manufacture the rubber tiles, I'm getting it for free, or like they're also paying me for that to take
Okay.
the
Oh,
waste
that's
from
amazing.
the garage.
So that again is a real like differentiator for you. Awesome. Love it.
Yeah.
Great job. So well, Cassie or others, any other feedback?
Nothing too much to add from me other than, yeah, just to look at, like you say, who those customers are, because you might find out that there's a whole other industry you're missing out on. That could be your main customer.
Yeah, totally. Okay, awesome. We're going to move on in the interest of time. I'm going to call out Jessie if you're open to sharing your value, unmuting and sharing yours.
Yeah, totally. So I would not say that this is the version that I would want to like pop on my website, but just trying to like quickly summarize based on filling out the table with like bullet points. We serve brands and manufacturers looking for high-performing, non-toxic colorants in a wide color range to use as healthier and more sustainable ingredients in beauty and cosmetic products. So the paying customer being the brands and manufacturers, the beneficiaries being that end consumer buying cosmetics. Our patent pending innovative suite of biofabricated fungal pigments enables customers, the brands and manufacturers, to meet the rising consumer demand for nature-based colors without compromising on performance or sustainability. And our competitive advantage is our background, our IP, our network, and our approach to making an impact on the beauty industry.
Awesome. Love it. I'm going to shut up because Cassie, this is 100% your thing.
I actually know Jessie as well.
Yeah.
so-
All right. Okay.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think maybe starting off more instead of saying we serve brands, to focus on what your product is, to really highlight that. I mean, I tend to do this, but I mainly done this at the start where you're really focusing on a lot of sort of technical, sort of focus on what you're doing when, really trying to pick out some of those really key words, that, especially because it's made from fungi and mushrooms and how highly innovative it is, that you've done all the R&D yourself to develop this. Maybe again a little bit about some of those figures and facts as to what the beauty and cosmetic industry looks like now and how your innovation really improves that. Because I know that you have been speaking with customers, so again, who those customers are and what they need from your product. But no, I really like it. I think what you're doing obviously is really important, but just to try and draw out some of those, the focuses of what the benefits are of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
So totally agree with what Cassie said. I think the like even better if evolution of this is, and this goes to all of you on this call, think about some statistics or research or evidence that is able to articulate maybe like a market trend or demand for this. So it might be that you find a statistic like 67% of beauty product consumers actively use sustainability as a buying decision when looking at their products. I'm making up a stat, but I know there is this massive upward trend. The flip side to that is I sometimes think with business ideas about the question like who will get sacked, and I'm being slightly tongue-in-cheek, but like who will get sacked if you don't do this? And it's like a reputational thing. If you're in a market where everyone else is charging ahead and building in like sustainability into their manufacturing process, and you're not, like someone's going to get sacked or like equivalent. You're going to lose market share, lose money. And so you are helping them invest heavily in their reputational and PR advantage within a market to expand market share. So this is my sense, not being from this space myself, but like, having read a little bit around it, this is like a massive like market opportunity to stay ahead of competition.
Yeah.
pulling out some stats around that would be really useful.
Just one other thing as well. I think, Jesse, when like list out all of the benefits, because really you want to dip, like there is so many other people doing not exactly what you're doing, but in this, especially in sustainability. So really try and focus on those specific things that make you stand out, and whether that's your background as a scientist or who you've met in your network, just something that really strengthens. And I don't know whether, you know, think about fungi and its benefits of what it does as you grow it, that can be an additional sort of USP to your product that sets you out from anyone else.
Awesome. Any other thoughts from the group? Okay, so we're going to have a break in one moment. The first thing is, for some reason, on the first Calendly link I shared, it was like in Eastern Standard Time. So I think people have been booking time at like 10:30 p.m., which is probably not ideal for either time. I'm definitely going to be asleep by that time. So I've shared another link, which is in a more forgiving GMT. So please do use the second link I just put in the chat to book mentorship. And I think the last person to share that value proposition before we break is going to be Rohan. Do you want to unmute and go ahead?
Yeah, awesome. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Fantastic. So my idea is an AI healthcare co-pilot that serves healthcare professionals such as doctors who conduct patient consultations. And the problem is that healthcare professionals these days need a more streamlined process for producing clinical documentation and distributing this to patients and other clinicians. So my solution is this healthcare co-pilot, which will seamlessly integrate with the digital environment used by doctors and record patient consultations to automatically generate and distribute accurate clinical documentation tailored to the clinician's needs. I think healthcare professionals would love this because it reduces the time to distribute clinical documentation from weeks to minutes, and it mitigates the burnout experienced by 66% of doctors in today's NHS. Some initial customer validation through speaking with doctors has highlighted the viability and utility of the solution, and it's backed by healthcare professionals. And I think that healthcare professionals will come to have full trust and faith in this solution, as we are in the process currently of getting the necessary regulatory approvals to use this in clinical settings and for clinical trials. Thank you very much.
Love it. Really, really compelling, really clear. It's also broadly in like the venture capital space. It's like a big area of investment over the last year or so. So it's an interesting opportunity. My big question, so I work a lot in like healthcare commercialization. And the big thing is like who pays?
Yes.
Okay. So like who is your paying customer and why would they pay?
Right. So I think there's two avenues to go down here. So one avenue would be to look at targeting companies who currently provide electronic health record software. So just an example is a company called Epic, let's say. So Epic provides electronic health record software, but they don't provide this feature and this set of features. And so one option would be to go to Epic and say, I think I could really elevate the software and the experience that you provide. So buy this from me and your software will have access to all these amazing features that will really benefit doctors and patients. The other option would be to go and speak with private healthcare, NHS trusts, GPs directly. And that in itself has some variability. So GPs, they can operate more independently. They might be open to doing pilot trials and seeing how things go. And if this really benefits their GPs, then continue to take this forwards. With hospital trusts, because they're so large, it's probably a lot harder for them to agree to allocating funding for this off the bat. So a route could be to potentially partner with a university and do some kind of clinical trials with them, and then use that as an avenue to get a trust to come on board with the idea.
Yeah. you've done some real thinking about this, which is great. I think the next step is like, yeah, as you kind of suggested, begin validating this with these different customers, so that, you know, to go back to the see the signs example, go from like 5 hypothetical client groups to like 1 or 2 validated client groups that, you know, or you have some evidence base.
Yeah.
Papers. But like, yeah, you're really thinking about the right stuff, which is great to hear. The last thing I'd say about your value proposition is commissioners in the health space, like the health, and it sounds like you have a medical background, I'm assuming that, because you know this area quite well, is like the health benefits, unfortunately, of technology are not enough. So when talking about impact, you have to include both health and cost impact benefits in your value. 100%.
Right.
It's a generalization that broadly holds true. Like they're just not considered if you just talk about like, you know, so cost saving as well as like, yeah, time saving for the clinicians, plus, you know, more efficiency, plus, you know, broader impact on health and support. But yeah, that's just a broader comment. Cassie and the wider group, any thoughts or feedback on Rohan's proposition?
Not too much to add for me. I find that really interesting about you need to have that health benefit as well, the cost, so that I learned something from that. But no, I thought that it's really compelling, your value proposition. And yeah, that was the only thing when you said you think that they might like it. If there's a way that you can get, you know, some confirmation from people, even if it's just by asking them what they're looking for, so that you know that you can put that into it.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. That's really valuable.
A final comment on user validation, and this is, I think, hopefully really valuable for the whole group, is, as Cassie keeps reiterating, like, speak to your customers. You have to speak to them. You can't imagine what they need. Speak to them and they will tell you what they need. And every time you speak to a customer, ask them, would you like to hear more in the future? Then you can add them to a database and potentially market to them in the future. Second, record that conversation on Zoom. So you have a video which can then become marketing material on YouTube. You can transcribe it, turn it into a blog about like GP's perspective on health efficiencies in 2023. And ask everyone you speak to, would you be open to introducing us to, you know, 3 to 5 people in your network who might also be interested in this? And then you get the network effect and exponential growth in your user base. So you're validating your user demand and building like a customer database set ready to launch your product. Hope that makes sense. That is something people don't do enough at this early stage. Definitely do it. It's very helpful. Cool. So we're at 5:05 now. There's a few people who've also asked to share ideas. We're actually going to take a 5-minute break now. But if you would like to pop your ideas in the chat, we can go back to them. Please be back. You know, feel free to turn your videos off, take a 5-minute comfort break, and we'll be back to start at 5:10. Thanks, everyone.
I mean, most of the time they spend time on patients or studies on their career itself.
Yeah.
I'm not doctors, or those who are not, I mean, they don't have the basic things, I mean, basic idea about businesses or stocks, how to self-finance things. I mean, by the time they get to know these things, they're already 35 plus or 40.
Mhm.
So the idea behind this is to create a community which promotes the self-well, um, safeguard the well-being of doctors, and create some experiences with just a medium called traveling, which is allowed. I feel that I traveling is something which connects each and everyone around the globe, especially doctors, because they don't have time for traveling as well. And this is my first proposition. And with this, once we build a community of doctors, the second proposition is about medical tourism. With the help of network of doctors we have got, we are going to build a medical tourism, which is about bridging the gaps and lapses in the healthcare around the globe, and make good use of doctors. And with the help of this community building, we can also be a voice. I mean, I want to be a voice for doctors, because doctors are paid very less all over the world for the amount of hard work they do. And I uh, I hope you're aware of the NHS strikes and everything. So
Yeah.
basically we're addressing the mental illness of and take care of the well-being of doctors.
Yeah, so that really makes sense. And I think really bring that up. You know, you are building a bespoke travel community to support the mental health of and well-being of doctors, and creating a peer-led community of support around them.
It's kind of social purpose with a commercial touch.
Yeah, that makes sense. Love it. I'm kind of moving a little bit quickly because we're going to run out of time.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. So the next thing is we have actually put together like a toolkit for you guys to use. So you'll see here on my screen a value proposition toolkit. This is a shared document. So the first thing you need to do when we share it is go File, Make a Copy, because otherwise you're all going to be editing the same version. But this is for you to like take away, to use, to start thinking about like how to map your product ideas. So that is now in the chat for you to use. And in the last like 15 minutes or so, we are going to whiz through something called the business model canvas. Okay, so here is Winston Churchill. Whatever you think of him as a human being, divides opinion, I think. He says, plans are of little importance, but planning is essential. And so this tool that we're going to share with you.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Salma. Yeah.
Hi, I'm sorry. I was just trying because I tried to connect from another device so that I could talk.
Oh, okay.
So I think I'm interrupting.
Salma, do you want to book time on the mentorship link, and then we can have a little chat more about your idea?
All right, no worries.
If that's okay.
All right, thank you.
Awesome, thanks. So this is a framework for you to basically put together a bunch of hypotheses about how your business works. So it is a lean template for developing a new or existing business model. And a business model is basically like the operating structure to support your business to succeed. And this is like a one-page format for brainstorming ideas around that business model, which you can test and evolve and improve. But it's like a logical framework for thinking about these different assumptions. So it looks a little bit like this. So there are, let's see, 9 different blocks to complete, and they follow a particular order like this. So you start on the right-hand side. And this is basically the core of what you do. And you will see that right in the middle of the screen is a value proposition. So after today, you guys have made a start on that value proposition. It also has the different groups around your customers. So who are your customer segments? How do you relate with them and through which channels? So, you know, do you speak with them via an email newsletter? Do you have WhatsApp running with them? Do you have a LinkedIn group, TikTok content, social meetups, events? What are the ways that you engage with your customers? So who are your customers, paying customers and end beneficiaries? What channels do you use to engage with them? And what different relationships do you own with them? So thinking about an example of like the Apple brand, as we mentioned before, our customers are like style conscious young people, designers, affluent, aspirational people, potentially educators, non-savvy tech users. So there's all sorts of different like user personas that Apple might want to target. The channels, they target them through Apple stores, online and in person, iTunes, underground adverts, TV ads. And then the relationships are like online support, phone support, the Genius Bar, personal assistance in store, and their value proposition to make beautiful, easy to use products that improve the lives of our customer. So that's like a case study of how you might use or complete the first step of this business model. Then you move on to the left-hand side. And this is like kind of where you think about the mechanics of how you bring to life your value proposition and get it out into the world. So in the example of Apple, key activities like designing and building the products, setting up your supply chain, you know, from manufacturers, getting your raw materials, getting them from where they're produced in China or wherever it might be, out to your different geographies and different markets across the world. Key partners, it might be like a retailer like John Lewis, it might be like a phone network provider like O2, could be like a celebrity like Bono, etc. And your resources, you need staff, finances, capital to make this happen, actual physical retail presence on the high street, loads of different stuff. By the way, this is definitely not an exhaustive list because this is a very complicated business, but it's just to like bring this stuff to life. And then the last step is the bottom. This is like where things get commercial. How do you make money or revenue? And what does it cost you to make money? And to keep you guys focused, this is one of the questions on the award application form, like how do you make money? So this is the last step of your business model canvas. Apple make money through selling hardware, phones, Macs, now like AirPods, they make tons of money from AirPods. Also like through the App Store, every time someone downloads an app, pays for an app, they get a fraction of that cost. They also charge for people to host their products on the App Store too. And then to actually produce their product, tons of costs involved, lithium batteries, aluminium shells, all of the like precious and earth metals that go into building electronics, chipboards, silicon, etc., outsourced manufacturer, shipping, staffing, cloud infrastructure, all sorts. But like this is basically a framework for you to put in one place all of the different component parts of your business. So we've covered a lot of stuff here, but the area that we most wanted to think about before we wrap up today is about like how you make money. Question for you guys to write in the chat, in one sentence, how would you describe how you make money? Jesse Adler makes money through investment. I'm going to challenge that answer, Jesse. Raising investment is not a revenue model. You raise investment to invest in the business, like for R&D, for production, for manufacturing. It is not your revenue model. Your revenue model is when you sell stuff. Raising investment is like, you know, giving away a share of your company. So Jesse, if you have some thoughts on like how you make money even in the future, that would be great. I expect it might be something like selling raw materials to manufacturers, sounds like. It could also be licensing of intellectual property to manufacturers. Like if there's a production process that you have, you could license that, like how to intellectual property to the manufacturers. We've also got a question for a food waste kind of business idea, wouldn't it be expensive as we'd also need to pay for the delivery of foods? I can't answer that with that information, but share a little bit more about like what the business does and then we can comment. So Laura makes money, a day rate charge for like consultancy, I imagine, and then a STEM project fee. Okay, great. So charge 600 quid for a day rate, the freelancer gets 400 quid, and you take home 200 quid. Natalie would license the service to LAs. I'm imagining that's local authority. If it is, I would make sure that you've spoken to local authorities about how they spend money, because my experience is that they don't have much of it right now. So understanding their budgets and what they're investing in is important. But okay, so let's just head back to my slides and think about revenue models. So revenue models, how you make money. First of all, like who pays? So there's lots of acronyms on my screen: B2C, B2B, B2B to C. The first is direct to consumer. So like selling to the average individual. If I have a sustainable clothing business and I sell to someone on the high street or through an e-commerce store, that is direct to consumer. I'm selling to individuals. Business to business is, I might have, so like in Jesse's example, developing a new way of manufacturing health products, and I sell it to like Olay or like Garnier or whoever it might be. So I'm selling to a business. Then the last one, business to consumer. So the consumer uses, but the business pays, or the government or the charity pays. So for example, the consumer might be like a GP, but the business is like integrated care board. Or better example, like the user might be a student in a university who's looking to improve their mental health. The access to that mental health app is paid for by the university. So that's like the who pays bit. Then how, it might be there's a one-time charge upfront. You pay me £1,000 once, and then you never pay her again. or recurring revenue. So SaaS, or software as a service, is a business model you see everywhere now. Like when you pay a monthly subscription for your app, that is SaaS. When you pay a monthly subscription for other online software, ChatGPT, Canva, G Drive, whatever it might be, that is SaaS. There's transaction revenue. So Airbnb take a transaction cost through a marketplace. When a homeowner lists their spare room and sell it for 100 quid a night, Airbnb might take like 12 quid per night. That's a transaction fee. And then advertising. So you could potentially sell ad space on your app, your platform, your newsletter, your magazine, your online publication, whatever it might be. And then lastly, how much? What is your average selling price? So those are the three kind of component parts to your revenue model. Cassie, what is your version of that?
So mine's is both B2B and B2C. For us, we're still developing the product, but it will be sold direct to manufacturers who will then sell it to the designers is the focus. But actually at the moment, while we're still developing the product, we're selling B2C. So that's through running workshops. So we're actually delivering education around the material while we don't have the product ready yet. And I think that's one thing that we really learned a lot was trying to look at different revenue models so that we can still make money before the product's actually available to launch. And that was where the sort of the workshop and education space really opened up, because there's a lot to still learn about the materials and why they're needed. So that helps us to bring in revenue before the product's actually ready.
Great, thank you. Who would like to share their revenue model or get like feedback on or ideas about how they make money? This is a key part of the application. Good chance now to get some thoughts and ideas on this.
Yeah, especially because I think there's a lot of businesses that we look at and that we may not realize that their main revenue model isn't what you think. Like Amazon, for example, their main revenue is through AWS, which is their cloud platform. And you would never think that because they seemingly are this customer-facing business. And so the way that you can diversify what your product is so that you can make more money and have the right impact.
So a few thoughts on the revenue models that we have seen in the chat. So Laura, you sell basically like consultancy. So you sell a day rate of an expert. There might be other ways of making money. So it might be that you've like codified a curriculum and you have your idea in a box, STEM in a box. You can license that. So you could license that to, I don't know, a training provider, a corporate, a school who need a curriculum. That could be another way of making money. You could turn it into an online course and you pay for subscription there. You charge Amazon a massive fee to do a corporate funded contract to engage like young people in STEM careers. That's something I've done in the past. They paid pretty good money to make that happen. So there's a bunch of different ways of doing that. Could be franchise models, loads of different things. So those are a few different ideas. Deborah, I think you've got your hand up.
Yeah, hi again. Listening to Cassie, my interest was really the end product is a festival. So doing like workshops to develop awareness, B2C, where the customer, the participants or attendants to this festival can actually engage in workshops, etc. That's an idea that one can include in their application to say it's twofold. So we're doing a festival, but in the beginning, it's an awareness of workshops, etc., with different groups of people where you can charge them.
Is that kind of like a marketing campaign? Yeah.
So I'm thinking you launch your product and you're launching it in the community, but it's not for the actual business persons, but for the community itself to be aware of the product. Is that okay?
I think that makes sense. I think you know, if you're running a festival for users, people might pay for tickets to go to an event. But often with festivals and events, you also get like a B2B business model. So a business might sponsor that event or part of that event, so they get their logo on brochures and websites and stuff like that. Equally, like if people deliver food or services at that event, which helps them generate revenue, you can sell like a spot at the event to a retailer or a business.
Okay, so what I want to probably didn't get. What I'm saying is that this is a new event, right? And it's an event which introduces the audience or the public to music, but the artists from different genres, they're going to use the music as an inspiration to create new products. Yep. What I would like to do before it gets to the actual artists to create the festival is to introduce it to other people within the community as a sort of creative learning program where they can actually have a taster of what artists would actually be doing to sell back that product to them as a festival.
Okay, so like a teaser of different artists' music and things to see whether you take them on.
So if I do an Ed Sheeran, and that Ed Sheeran, I am going to take it into the school so the kids would start to think about the mood and, you know, what the texture that they can feel or envision in this music. So I'm taking creative thinking to another level. But that creative thinking is now being manifest by artists from different genres. So when I host the festival now, people could say, oh yeah, I know about this, where I can now eat Ed Sheeran's music because it is seen in foods now, because that was inspired by the culinary artists. I can now wear an Ed Sheeran music because it was inspired by a fashion, you know, the fashion designer was inspired by that.
Yeah. I would love to dig a little bit more into it sounds interesting. I think right now we probably don't have just
No, you don't. I was just wondering, you know, I was tapping in on Cassie, what she was saying about making, and you yourself making an income before you actually, you know, launch the actual business, the final business.
Can I suggest, and I don't want to kind of jump in and stop this, but we're going to run out of time, book some mentorship and we'll take it forward there.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Deborah. So I've seen tons of you book mentorship time. There's some issues still with that booking link, and I'm seeing that they're coming through not at the right times. So I'm going to look at all of those invites. I'm going to send you all an email in the next like half an hour with the right link, with the slides from this workshop, and you can book a proper link, because at the moment I've got bookings like all day tomorrow into the middle of the night, and it's all got to be a bit chaotic. So thanks for your patience with that. Before we finish, Cassie, I don't know if you had any like final thoughts or takeaways for the group.
Just to, well, first of all, look through all the templates, really utilize them, even if it's just jotting down ideas to start thinking about these different aspects of value proposition and the business model canvas. And also just to, even if it's, you know, you're just writing down bullet points in the application, to get started today if you haven't already, because it's always better to be able to edit than it is to have nothing and try and rush through it at the last minute. Usually when you're jotting down ideas, more ideas come. And also, yeah, that final point, to really think about how you're going to make money. Look at other businesses and what their revenue models are, and see if there's any businesses that maybe aren't in your same field, but that you can take some advice or hints from. And also just definitely apply. definitely apply. I think there's absolutely no harm. And also, from my experience, I thought my idea wasn't good enough, and the lack of confidence probably killed me more than my idea not actually being good enough. So definitely just to go through all the templates, use all the information today as much as possible. And I think there's a way that they can speak with each other. Is that right, Ed? They can get advice.
Yeah, like in the mentorship
Maybe.
session, there'll be like 2 or 3 of you in those sessions, so you can actually like get peer feedback as well, which is I think really valuable.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm going to follow up with those guys who booked mentorship shortly. The last thing I'd say is there is a really valuable session on the 30th and 31st of Jan, which is literally like top tips on nailing your application. So if you are applying, it's a good one to go to. So hopefully see you there. And as Cassie says, like, honestly, everyone probably lacks some confidence in themselves or their idea at this stage. Everyone. Like, when I've applied for these competitions, I've been like, oh, I'm not good enough, or my idea is crap, or whatever. Like, we're here to support that. Your idea will be like infinitely better, and you will be infinitely like in a stronger position to apply for this than you imagine. And to get you there, like, we're here to help. Mentorship, the next session. But the key thing that will make you stand out, the key thing, is go and talk to people who will use your idea. Doesn't matter if it doesn't exist yet. Go and learn from people. Go and learn, like with the idea of Creative Joan, you know, supporting loneliness in care homes. Go and speak to people in care homes. If you're working with kids in STEM education, go and speak to their families or teachers or whatever. But yeah, great to be here during this afternoon's workshop. Thanks again so much, Cassie, for everything, all of your advice and things that you brought. And see you guys next time. Have a nice evening.
See you, everyone. Good luck.